All right, so today I'm going to cover the second segment of section 5.2, Understanding Inheritance. And we are going to be focusing on how we can model inheritance, how we can predict what the offspring will have from their parents' combinations, basically, aka Punnett squares. So let's get started. So heredity, remember, is the study of how traits are passed from parents to offspring. And, with our dominant and recessive forms of alleles, we can actually predict what the offspring might look like. And so Punnett squares help us show all the possible outcomes for inheritance. I abbreviated Punnett squares here, PS. Illustrate how the parents' alleles might combine in the offspring. The thing I want to stress here is how they might combine. It doesn't mean that's exactly what they're going to turn out to be. And just remember that each parent has two alleles for a particular gene. So this is what a Punnett square looks like. It's a square, and it's divided into 4 squares, okay? So this is how it works. The top of the Punnett square shows one of the parents' alleles. Okay, so I'm going to grab my pen here for a trait. So let's just say we have a parent that's big T, little t. So you're going to put one of the letters here. I'm going to put the big T here. And you should always write your capital letters first. And I'm going to put my little t over here. The side of the Punnett square shows the other parent's alleles for a trait. In this case, little t, little t. Okay, the Punnett square is very similar to a multiplication table, so now the third step would be fill it in. And how you fill it in is you take a look at the parents. So parent number 1 up here has a big T, so I'm going to put a big T right here. And then you get the other half from the other parent, so this parent has a little t. So I'm going to go to my highlighter just so I can show you. So this T is right here. I'll get a different color. And this little t is right there. So remember, an organism gets 1 letter from each parent. And then you just go on and you fill in the rest. So the second square, okay, this parent has a little t. And this parent has a little t. So this square is going to be little t, little t. This T, big T right here. Okay, that big T comes from up here. And the little t. So the little t comes from right there. And this final square, little t, little t. All right, so I'm going to get my highlighter out just, again, to show you where these letters come from. So this big T, I wrote it right there. Okay, I'm going to switch colors to green. Okay, this little t, filled in this square, and it's also right here. Probably should use a different color, maybe for the other alleles. Oh yeah, that's pretty. Okay, little t, fill in that little t, fill in that little t. And I guess my final color will be blue. All right, so you can kind of see how I filled it in. I used the parent alleles on the top, and then I just went in and I filled it in. Okay, so now over here, it says something about genotype. So remember, genotype, those are, whoops, not what I wanted to write. Genotype is the letters. What do the letters look like? I was going to write letters. L-E-T-T-E-R-S. The letters. What do the letters look like? So I take a look at this square here, right? How many different combinations do I see? Okay, I see a big T, little t. And that's a big T, little t. And I also see a little t, little t. How many of the squares are big T, little t? 1, 2. So I'm going to say 2 out of 4. And that little t, how many of the squares are little t, little t? 2 out of 4. Wow, why do I keep typing 5? Okay, the phenotype. What is phenotype? Phenotype is the physical characteristics. What do they look like? Well, I didn't tell you what T stood for. Maybe big T stands for tall, and little t is the allele for short. So, do I have any tall organisms? And in order to be tall, you have to have a capital T. Yep, you bet. This has got a big T, and this also has a big T. So I got 2 out of 4. And how many are short? Well, the only way you can be short is if you have 2 lowercase t's, and we see that, so 2 out of 4. I know it doesn't say out of, it just says 2 out 4, whatever. Okay, so ratios and percentages can help us express the probability of these outcomes. And so a lot of times you can put your answers as ratios to show the relationship between two traits or things. So looking at the square, what's the ratio of blue squares to total squares? You'd say, oh, there are 4 blue squares out of 4 blue squares, so 4 to 4. Ratio of red squares to total squares, you could say 1 red square to 4, so 1 out of 4. So to go back here, if I wanted to put my answer in ratio, I'd say 2 colon 4. Let me slide this over so you can see it. Okay, 2 to 4. And this one's also 2 to 4. And actually all of these are 2 to 4. Okay, so that's how you do ratios. Replace it with a little colon. All right, so probability is the likelihood of or chance of a specific outcome. Sometimes you can represent it as a percentage, the ratio that compares a number out of 100. So if I have 2 out of 4 that are going to be big T, little t, imagine yourself like with quarters. 4 quarters equals $1 or 100 cents. So if I have 2 quarters out of 4 quarters, 2 quarters, that's 50 cents or 50%. So if I said, hey, what's the percent, you could say, oh, it's 50%. So I could also show my answer as a percent. So a few different ways that you can show your answers. So let's try a Punnett square here. So you might come across a problem where one parent is going to be big R, big R. Okay, so this is a parent and it's getting crossed with big R, little r. And big R stands for round and little r is wrinkled. So automatically I can say this is my dominant trait and this is my recessive trait. So the first step is you write one parent on top. So I take a look at this parent right here, and that's going to be big R, big R. And on the side you write the second parent, big R, little r. And then the third is you're going to fill it in. So remember, in offspring, you get 1 from each parent. So I'm going to write big R from the parent on top, and then big R from the parent on the side. Okay, let's just fill in this square down here. Big R from the parent on top, little r from the parent on the side. This square, big R from the parent on top, big R from the parent on the side. And down here, big R from the parent on top, little r from the parent on the side. So I'm going to go ahead and show you, highlight. I'm going to highlight my letters here. So like this big R is for that big R, and this big R. And you know what? I'm just going to highlight one color for one parent just to show you that each is made up of half. Whoop. We'll use green. So that's where that big R came from. That's where that big R came from. Here's the little r. Here's the little r. So you can see each offspring is made up of 1/2 of each parent. All right. Now I might ask you genotype, right? Might as well. So, well, what are the genotypes? How many different letter combinations? Genotypes are the letters, right? So I look and I say, oh, you know what? I see a big R, big R. Okay. And I also see a big R, little r. maybe they want to know how many are big R, big R. So I'm going to use my ratio. 1, 2. 2 out of 4. Or, what's another way you could show your answer? You could put it as a percentage, 50%. All right, big R, little r. Looking at my Punnett square, oh, 2 out of 4, or 50%. Okay, let's take a look at the phenotype. Okay, remember it's what you see. Okay, physical trait. Physical trait shown. So if you are big R, you are round. So no matter what, if you have a big R, you're going to be round. So this one have a big R? Yep. This one have a big R? Yep. This one have a big R? Yep. This one's got a big R? Yep. All right, so round equals 4 out of 4, or 100%. Okay, let's take a look at another example here. Big B, little b, cross with big B, little b. Big B stands for brown fur. Little b is black fur. Okay, so we gotta make a Punnett square. Let me get a pen. I'll make my Punnett square. Oh, that's pretty. Oh yeah. Okay, first step. First, draw your Punnett square. Okay, second step. Figure out your parents. Parent number 1, big B, little b. Okay, parent number 2, big B, little b. Okay, next step. Fill in your Punnett square. Okay, each box is made up of half of a parent. So, big B from the top, big B from the side. Right? Big B, big B. Okay, square below it. Big B from the top, little b from the side. Big B, little b, okay? This square, little b from the top, big B from the side. Now you notice that I wrote my little b off to the side. You always want to write your capital letters first, okay? Don't write little b, big B. I'll mark it wrong. Bottom square here, little b from the top, little b from the side. Okay, got it. So, looking at our Punnett square, what's the ratio for big B, big B? Well, I look at my Punnett square, it's 1 out of 4. So the ratio is 1 out of 4. What's the percentage? 25. All right, what's the ratio for big B, little b? 2 out of 4. 2 squares for big B, little b. If you have 2 quarters, you have 50 cents, or half of $1. Well, in this case, 2 out of 4 is 50%. Little b, little b. Oh, I only see 1 square there. 1 to 4. 1 out of 4. 1 square is 25%. All right, big B is brown fur and 2 little b's is black. So how many, tripping you up here, black fur, little b, the only way you can be black. How many squares here? What's the chance of an offspring being black fur? You'd say 1 out of 4. So there's a 25% chance that whatever organism is, made in here, that they will have black fur. I don't know why I wrote the 5 first, 25%. Brown fur. Brown is if you have a big allele. So no matter what, if you have the big allele, you will have brown fur. 1, 2, 3. 3 out of 4. And that percentage is 75%. All right, so your assignment will be a Punnett square practice. In fact, you know what? I'm just going to pull it up because I'm sure there will be some questions on it. There always are. Just give me a second here. Pull it up on my file. Okay, This is what it looks like. Okay. So the first part here, it says for each of the genotypes below, determine what the phenotype will be. So purple flowers are dominant to white. Well, purple flowers are dominant. That means if you have a capital letter, you're going to be purple. So if you come across big P, you're going to be purple. Big P, little p. What color are you going to be? Purple, because you have that dominant letter. Little p, that will be white. So that's that first half. So the second part here, for each of the following genotypes, write whether it's homozygous dominant, heterozygous dominant, or homozygous recessive. So homozygous, remember, means that the letters will be the same. And then you have to take a look at the second word. Dominant means that they would be capital, both letters would be capitalized. And recessive means that they would be lowercase. If it says heterozygous, then that means that you would have letters, both a capital and lowercase. Then it goes on, and you got some sample problems here. So in this problem, you're looking at dogs, fur color, dominant allele F, capital F, codes for gray fur, and the recessive allele little f codes for black. So for each of the following genotypes, determine what the phenotype, that's what it would look like, be. And then it tells you, hey, we have a female dog that is heterozygous and a male dog that's homozygous recessive. Use a Punnett square to find the ratios. So when you do these word problems, you really, look at your notes. What does heterozygous mean? Oh, one of each letter. So mom is going to be big F, little f. The male dog is homozygous recessive. Homo means the same and recessive means lowercase. So dad is going to be little f, little f. So one parent's going to be big F, little f, and the other parent's going to be little f, and you're going to fill in your Punnett square, and you're going to tell me your ratio. Sorry. And then for the letters, and then for the phenotype, you'll tell me if it's black fur or gray fur. And then there's a few more dealing with dog colors, and some more sample problems. But this is the assignment. We'll be doing more Punnett squares tomorrow with SpongeBob. So, sorry this one got a little bit long, but it's about Punnett squares and you got to work through it.